joining us for the second Sideman Song Swap podcast, episode 2. My guest today is John Marlin. He's going to be my guest at the next Sideman Song Swap, which is coming up pretty soon, Wednesday, February 3rd at the Magnolia Motor Lounge in Fort Worth, Texas. So, John, start this off. Tell us just about kind of how you got into music, how you got to where you are today in music. I know you've done a lot of fun, impressive stuff, so tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so where I started with music, I kind of started like everybody else does, to where I was just a teenager that loved rock music, loved angsty rock music, and you know, had friends that had guitars and stuff. So I just kind of fell in love with. Actually, another thing is with guitar is right around the same time I fell in love with rock music. That game Guitar Hero came out, if you know about Guitar Hero. So with Guitar Hero, I remember like I had picked up guitar a little bit, me and a couple friends, and we had learned a few things. And then Guitar Hero came out, and we had gotten so deep with that game, and not to toot my own horn, but me and my friends got so good at that game that we decided that why don't we learn these songs on real guitar?
This reminds me of like a South Park episode.
It's just like that episode. So we, so I remember about that time I was like 11 or 12, and we had started just learning a bunch of rock songs and had like a little garage band type thing, and just kind of how most people start out, I guess. And from then on, I just found myself in country music, and that's kind of a whole story in itself. Long story short, played with tons of country bar bands leading up to like a more touring regional acts. I played with a guy named Bart Crow for a couple years.
Oh, we all know Bart.
And then after playing with Bart, I started playing for a guy named Granger Smith, who I'm with currently, and who's had a lot of mainstream success and whatnot. So that's where I'm at now. But you want to talk about how I got into country music?
So how I remember John coming into country music is I was playing for a guy named Mark McKinney. And we had a guitar player named Jude. That's from here in Ennis.
Yeah.
And Jude used to bring around this little kid that would come and like load his gear for him, and he would hang out, just kind of be around, and he was wanting to learn everything he could, so he'd come and hang out and do some of the grunt work. And one day Jude said, "Well, man, I can't make the show. I got some family stuff that came up." And we're like, "Man, it's kind of like notice. We don't have anybody to fill in. We're not going to be able to find anybody that quickly." He's like, "Well, y'all know John. John will do it." And we're like, "That kid that loads your gear sometimes? Like, what? No way. There's not enough time for him to learn the set and stuff." He's like, no, believe me, he's already got it. Whatever, like, I don't know how we went ahead and trusted him to do it, but we played that night at the River Road Ice House in New Braunfels.
No, we played at Blaine's Pub.
Oh, that one was first, that's right.
That was the first one.
So, sure enough, John jumps in and just nails the entire show. What were you, 16, 17 years old?
I think it was 16. Yeah, we didn't rehearse or anything.
I don't think he was old enough to get into those bars even.
I can't remember. I think Jude had like his appendix taken out or something. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, I was fortunate enough that not only him, but you guys trusted me to just hop in on the show without no rehearsal and no other knowledge of my playing other than Jude's word, which was amazing.
I'm not going to lie. You have to give Jude all the credit for that, because we were not ready to trust you yet, I don't think.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
sure enough, it happened, and it's crazy, because ever since then we've stayed friends. We started writing together not long after that.
Yeah.
And have been writing together ever since. And it's been kind of fun to watch you go from gig to gig and walk your way up to, I said most recently you've been playing for Granger Smith. Y'all get to do a lot of big stuff, but most recently you've also written and produced some stuff for Granger Records.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's, I got to kind of overstep the, Sideman job description, I guess, and kind of just and actually become a lot more involved creatively with Granger, which same thing. I mean, he put a lot of trust into me, same as these guys did early on, and letting me kind of do some good work, I guess. So with Granger, he just put out a new record, a 2-part record called Country Things. There's a volume 1 and a volume 2. And of 18 songs, I got to produce 6 songs, and I wrote 2 of the songs with him as well. So
that's awesome.
And that's awesome, and that was number 1 on the country iTunes chart for a little bit, and did some good stuff, and from what I can tell, people really like it. We haven't gotten to play a lot of shows to support that record yet, but from what I can tell, people really like it.
Sometime this year, it's coming.
Yeah, we're filming this right now on New Year's Eve, and we just got a last minute gig playing at Billy Bob's tonight because whoever was headlining it, I think got the virus and got sick, so we got called to do it.
So when we cut this short, just know it's because John has to run off to Billy Bob. Man, well, this is going to be a super special song swap for me just because it was kind of with John that I started getting serious about songwriting myself. I'd kind of toyed with it here and there, but it was kind of when we started co-writing together is when I started taking it more seriously and kind of getting into it and really enjoying it. And John even produced a little EP for me back, man, I don't know, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, we did that while I was still living at my dad's house, in my bedroom.
You were kind of getting your hands really around production and engineering and all that side of things.
We set up your drums in my living room.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The whole shebang.
Well, it's come a long way since then, but we're going to have plenty of stories for you guys, the song swap, just because we've worked together for years, a little bit on the road, mostly riding and just hanging out, but we'll definitely have a lot of stories that coincide. And this one will be a little bit, not only songs from the road, but a lot of kind of the back process and story telling situation of songwriting. Mm-hmm. Just because we've written a lot of songs together, and we'll kind of show you guys some of how the songs came to be and whatnot, which some of them aren't as interesting stories, and then some of them are pretty interesting, so it ranges from all sides of songwriting.
Yeah.
So what else happened with you recently? You have some pretty big news as far as songwriting and that realm. Yeah,
so for some exciting news in my world is similar to Kelton. Both of us have written our own songs and, just written songs, for other artists and whatnot, and really pursued that heavily. We both love touring and the performance aspect, but I think where the real fulfillment comes from in any creative endeavor is actually creating. So that's where our focus has been for as long as we've also been playing with other artists. But for myself, I've been really focusing on songwriting for myself and doing kind of my own, finding my own style and sound as a singer-songwriter. And over the past couple of years of collecting a bunch of songs and making a bunch of demos and putting out a couple songs, I got and then also through working on Granger's record, I signed my first publishing deal with a company called Wide Open Music in Nashville, who are very excited for me to record my own songs as an artist, which is amazing, and also write with other people. So
just give a quick breakdown for anyone who doesn't know. What is a publishing deal? What does that mean?
So a publishing deal, it's hard to explain, but it's very like it's basically an agency that they support you in kind of will support you in letting you write your songs full time, and they'll set you up with other songwriters, and then also pitch your music to record labels or if you're writing for other artists, pitch your songs to get recorded by other artists. So it's kind of, they're pretty big gatekeepers, I guess, if you will. But I don't know, it's just it's funny because I feel like I'm just doing the exact same thing that I've always been doing as far as writing songs and creating music and whatnot. But now it's kind of a little bit more validating thing, as in it's an official thing, if you will. I don't know how else to really describe it, but
so in a nutshell, pretty much they support you to write as much as you can and get as good as you can writing.
Yeah.
And they also kind of push your songs, try and get them out there.
Yeah.
For other artists and other opportunities for those songs to get out and grow.
Exactly. So it's kind of a development thing, if you will. Like for a lot of artists, that's kind of like the first step towards like maybe getting a record deal or whatever that is. That is kind of more of a bigger thing. Is a publishing company kind of wants you to focus full time and grow your craft and set you up with the right people and give you feedback, and really it's like a development thing. I would feel for They do a lot of different things in different contexts. But.
So one thing I didn't really think about in that supporting you part, there's a financial kind of support there, which kind of helps artists, in my mind, get to actually focus time on that. Whereas without something like that, if you're playing shows on the weekends, maybe you have another job or something you do during the week, you don't have a lot of time to sit down and write. So that kind of gives you that opportunity to like, okay, I've got a little bit more coming in. I don't have to like do all these other things. I can carve out some time specifically for writing. And
that's their idea. Yeah, is for you to, they're investing in your potential and will give you, a small salary. That's technically in advance to where, they basically will get paid back by your future royalties. But they want you to focus and give you the opportunity to focus full time on your songwriting, which, like you're saying, most musicians, especially like so many musicians in Nashville, they might be working day jobs while also gigging on the weekends and maybe don't have the bulk of their time carved out or available to really focus on their craft. So that's where a publisher really is a huge advantage in the sense of giving you an opportunity to focus more full time on it.
Well, that's pretty cool. Congratulations on that, because that means you'll get to put a lot more time and energy into music.
Trying to
get some more stuff out there. If you haven't checked it out, John's put out some songs already this year, and you can find them anywhere: Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff.
All over the interwebs: Spotify, iTunes, Amazon.
And that's
Apple
just
Music.
by searching John Marlin.
Yeah, just search John Marlin. You can go to johnmarlin.com. There's my website with like a quick little bio and then my songs and then the songs that I've produced as well. So that's a good landing page.
Definitely.
On the social medias and all that good stuff.
So how long have you been with Granger now?
So with Granger, I have been with him for about coming up on 5 years. I started with him at the very beginning of March in 2016, so we're coming up on that. And funny story, starting with Granger, it was very exciting and whirlwind of a time to where I was playing with Bart Crow at the time, and Granger had called me out of the blue because a good friend of ours, or mutual friend of ours, had recommended me, Cale Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
Who's somebody you should also have on the song swap thing.
He'll be on here for sure. If I
yeah,
get a hold of him.
Cale, our friend, that he plays guitar for Eli Young Band. He had also played guitar for Bart Crow, and he had was kind enough to, whenever Granger was asking for guitar player recommendations, he recommended me. So Granger called me out of the blue, and I wasn't very familiar with his music, but I knew that he was a big name. Anyway, he called me, and they were on tour, so I didn't get to go audition in person. I had sent in a few videos and talked to him over the phone, and he had basically agreed to give me a trial run. So come out, on the road with him for a month and see how it fits, see how it vibes, and reevaluate the relationship, a month in, and see if we want to continue full time. Well, in that first month, I think the very first show that I did with them, I'd flown out to Florida for like a quick radio show that we played maybe like a 15 or 20 minute slot. But the very next day, we had played the Today Show. And then the next day after that, we had gotten to play Fox and Friends. And a week after that, we played Jimmy Kimmel Live and all this crazy stuff, because that week that I started with them, I think actually to the day that I started with Granger, his first big single went number one. So like I went like right.
Jumped in the middle of the madness.
Jumped in the middle of the madness. And anyway, super exciting time. And so I was on a trial run for a month period. Just trying to not mess up and make sure I could keep working with him full time. And we were going to reevaluate after a month, and we never reevaluated. And then 5 years later, Granger will still joke and say that I'm still on my trial run, but I still have to, watch it and make sure that,
I'll let you produce a bunch of the record, write some of the songs, but you're still on trial run.
You're still on trial run.
We don't know if this is for sure yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's funny. I think I'd forgotten that Cale was kind of a piece of that story.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, I was on a podcast recently with my buddy Steve on Beer for Brunch.
Ooh.
And they really wanted to hear about how I got into my current gig. And they're like, is that just how it works? And I was like, man, everything is different, but advice for musicians, especially if you're in the kind of sideman realm, all I can say is keep doing it. The longer you do it, and the better. People always think like, oh, the best musicians are going to get that spot. And yeah, talent has a lot to do with it, but it's really in how easy you are to get along with and how much people like working with you.
Yeah.
And who the connections you make along the way. If you've done it for years, you're going to meet all these different people. And if you make a good impression on people, when a gig comes open, they're going to be like, oh, you're going to like this guy and he's a great player. I recommend him. And that's how you get these phone calls is people and you've been around a while and people know they can trust on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trust you, rely on you. And
I think talent is a prerequisite, and that's kind of a given. If you're if you're kind of in the scene already, to whatever degree, people already kind of know and assume that you're good and talented. So that's very much a prerequisite. But there's plenty of talented people, and that's where the real deciding factor I feel for gigs is just your relationships with people. It's really like anything, but especially within music, it's a word of mouth industry very much. There's no formal application process to this stuff. It's all based on your relationships with people, and if they feel they can trust you, and if you're a trustworthy, reliable person, and a good person to get along with, because if you stick 10 people on a bus to go out for weeks on end and tour, you
probably need to be able to get along together.
Yeah, it's very important that you get along, and that's a very often overlooked factor is the kind of the social aspect and and just your character. So I think that's super important. And also too is you never know, kind of what Kelton was touching on is you never know who might recommend you for a gig that kind of changes your life or is a big opportunity that you could have expected. So many gigs and opportunities for myself have come up with people that I wouldn't have expected to recommend me, or whatever it may be. So definitely, any interaction you have with anybody, it's just like, not saying you should think about what people can do for you. You should never think about that, think of people in that way. But you never know who could, who just might throw an opportunity your way, and all those little interactions, they just mean so much, and that's a life lesson in general in itself.
Definitely.
But
I feel like especially in music, it's just the more people the better, and
absolutely
the impression you make on those people obviously has something to do with if they're going to call you or not.
It's a small circle too. So if you burn one bridge, you've probably burned multiple, in the sense of everybody talks and kind of and hears about what you are like. So you just hope that it's mostly good things that people say about you.
Yeah, definitely. You burn a bridge or two and people remember that, and that'll kind of live on a lot longer than you want it to.
Absolutely. So the social aspect is so important. And, the easy advice is just be a good person,
Definitely.
And then
it's harder to get much better advice than that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the simplest way you can put it. Just be good and be kind and cool, and life will reward you for that.
Definitely. So we've got the song swap coming up right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do the same thing we always do with these song swaps. John's gonna join me, and we're gonna tell you guys kind of stories from our years as working and living on the road as Sideman, but also sharing some of our music with you. Maybe some music from the guys that we've played with along the way and written songs with. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do that Wednesday, February 3rd at the Magnolia Motor Lounge. I think we're kicking things off at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
So we'd love for you guys to join us, and thank you for joining us here. We'll see you soon.